Let's talk about World War III, or the movement from the Cold War into the hot war, if that's actually what's going to happen. I discuss more of this on my blog, globalhorsepower.blogspot.com, and you're welcome to go over there, as well as the YouTube. Making comments here is also fine. An article that I'm looking at is on telegraph.co.uk. It's British media, and they're talking about Angela Merkel and Francois Hollande going to Russia. So this is taking place right now. But in this article, they're showing them having a meeting in Kiev with the Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko. All right, and here is Kerry with the Prime Minister in Ukraine, Arseniy Yatsenyuk. Now take a look at this graph, which supposedly shows you the amount of displaced since last summer. It's been almost a year when the fighting was really beginning. I actually went right over Ukraine before it happened, and it was just prior to when the Air Malaysia jet went down, shot down by, well, I know who shot it down. I'm pretty sure of it, but I'm not going to say that right now. We're moving from the summer, July 14, up to the present, and you see it really shoots up here at the end of September from the 25th until the 30th. It shoots way up, so there was an escalation, and you see another escalation here starting after January 6th and going on for more than 2 weeks. And it doesn't double the population of displaced, but it's definitely a good, 1/3 increase, if not 1/2 more. So the amount of lives that have been lost is at 5,244. That's the official count that this paper wants to give. I'm not sure about their sources, but it is over 5,000, going on 6,000. Now, if you're going to believe that they really want peace, you're seeing this visit, which is being made by the two countries' leaders, which is, the European Union has its bigger players, and, right now everything's being moved by the UK because London has a lot of say. Rome has some say, yes, behind the scenes. It's the traditional power. And of course you have France as the major player. And what's going on is that they're trying to pressure Russia and Putin, the ruler there. Notice how they do not show you any pictures of Putin in this. You go all the way through the article and they don't give you any pictures of Putin. So you have to understand, like I said, take it with a grain of salt. This is a British media organ here. And they want to, promote themselves as the bringers of peace. They want to, make it look like they're the ones trying. What is really going on? Because Russia is not going to back down from its stance. Russia has its own interests in mind, and those are valid sovereign interests. Here we have President Obama of the United States talking about religion, hijacking religion. He declares that no God condones terror. Really? That's interesting. No God condones terror. All the Vikings had a god. They had Blitzkrieg. The Third Reich had gods. Terror, let's see. God can't condone terror. He's some strange kind of prophet, because we know that there are plenty of gods that do. We know that the American bald eagle, which is a symbol of the god of military might, it brings terror. It rains terror from the sky. We know that. As an American, you were raised to be proud of that. Of course they bring terror. It's kind of double-speak, nonsense, lies. You would expect more honesty from a civilized world. But, then again, this is not a civilized world. Let's go back to this. We had a quote in here that I want to end with. And it comes from one of the Dutch officials. If I could just find it for you. Here it is. The defense minister, Janine Hennis-Plasschaert. I thought this was kind of ironic. Let's read it. More weapons in this area will not bring us closer to a solution and will not end the suffering of the population. We need to put a lot of pressure on the separatists and Russia in an economic and political way to find a solution at the table and not on the battlefield, because to give input to a potential escalation is not a good solution. Alright, try to decipher this, but I think a key thing that we need to understand is in an economic and political way. That means economic hardship. That means embargo. That means what OPEC just did. That means manipulating the market. That means having control of a commodity, a monopoly. That monopoly that is controlling the petroleum industry, controlling the petrodollar. Russia doesn't want to be a victim of that. How do you bring them to the table? Oh, through economic pressure? I doubt it, because that is the same thing as hot war military pressure, economic pressure. If you don't learn any lessons from history, I'm going to remind you right now. There was an embargo placed upon the Japanese during the 1930s. You have to look this up if you don't know about it. They cut off all raw materials that were necessary for industry. They cut off all of the resources that are necessary to run their machines, their engines, their industry, and that was, in that day, just as it is today, the petroleum. They were cut off from getting the amount of petroleum that they needed. They were cornered. They were isolated. The United States put pressure on all the surrounding regions, all the other nations, so that they would not deal with Japan. They would not sell, distribute, or do anything regarding more fuel. This went on for, seems like, over 2 years before Japan finally snapped. The whole time they knew it was horrible. The whole time they knew it was unfair. They were just building up for a response. And they did so with invasions, with force, in order to protect their interests. This is what happened. So, according to the Dutch defense minister, they intend to do the same thing to Russia right now. What was done to Russia during the period right before World War II? Well, might have been slightly different ball game over there, as the communists under Lenin and then Stalin were establishing their kind of like false communists. It's just capitalism with another face. It's just, we're not going to debate the forms of government, what they're called and what they really are. I just want to say that to avoid war, this is not the way to do it. This is a completely slanted, biased article, and make sure you keep these things in mind when you are analyzing the situation. Like I said, go over to Global Horsepower. I'm going to post this video over there, and hopefully we will see you and hear what you have to say in the discussion. Thank you.